I used to consider myself a sane man. A reasonable man. Well, I mean, I did take a month of my time out to play Silver Surfer, but beating that was nothing compared to playing Battletoads until we win. Let's not bullshit here. This game is beyond hard. Difficult doesn't even begin to describe it. In fact, if you look up any top lists of the most difficult games ever made, Battletoads is almost always at or near the top of that list. This game defined Nintendo hard. Instant death spikes, bottomless pits, enemies that kill in one hit. Hell, there's even an enemy that will literally blow you off of the screen if you don't jump in the right spot. This game is just downright sadistic. Now, I'm not playing this game with a second player, and I know it's much more difficult with a partner, mostly because of the limited continues and the small amount of space you have in order to, get this game right. But really, I don't have anyone to play with, I mean, I guess I could ask the babe. Hey, babe, you want to play this game with me? No? Yeah, fuck you too. My point is that it's really hard to find people to play this game with and still manage to beat it without both of you losing your goddamn minds. Like I said, this game is fucking hard. As a kid, I could never get past the third stage. That damned hover bike stage. Ugh. Now, many games at the time were this difficult, but they were actually pretty short, usually only 4 or 5 stages long. But Battletoads has 12 stages, and as the levels progress, the stages actually get harder. This game does not mess around. As is the case with many games of the time, the Japanese version is significantly easier than the American release. I heard a rumor that the reason for this was Blockbuster. Yeah, in Japan, renting video games is actually illegal, but in America, the rental market was thriving at the time, so developers thought that increasing the difficulty of the games to near impossible levels would ensure that it could not be beaten in a weekend, which would force the player to buy the game rather than rent it. I don't know how true that is, but it's a good explanation as to why this game is just balls to the wall frustrating. So yeah, the game. Well, I know this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to tell you, like, the tips and the tricks of beating the game and, maybe give you some information on how to beat some of the certain enemies, but, I really don't have any information like that this time around, mostly because this game is just weird as hell. Every level is completely different from the last one. All of the enemies in every level are almost completely different from every other level. So, the only general tips I can give you is get 100,000 points to get a 1-up, and don't die. Of course, that means I'm gonna have to go through every single level and explain them all to you in order for you to understand just what the hell's going on, and I'm not looking forward to that. Mostly because I don't use warps. Let's get started. Level 1, Ragnarok's Canyon. It's the first level of stage, and it's relatively easy and straightforward. It's just a beat-em-up stage. You run through the stage, you beat up some enemies, you run through the stage again, watch, rinse, and repeat. Really, there's not a whole lot to say. Even the boss isn't that difficult. You just avoid the crosshair that's on the screen, wait for the boulder to get shot at you, and then throw it back at the robot. And yeah, I said crosshair. Once the robot is shooting at you, you just need to make sure you're not in the crosshair area, and you won't get hurt. Hit the boss 3 times, and you've won the battle. Level 2, the Wookiee Hole. I don't know why it's called a Wookiee Hole. I don't even want to imagine what a Wookiee Hole looks like. Ugh. This descent is a bit difficult until you learn the real trick of the stage. Stay directly against the wall until your toad turns into a wrecking ball. Hit the attack button and you'll swing across the screen, killing everything in your path in one hit. The trick becomes particularly useful against the damn robots that shoot electricity at you. Instead of taking 3 or 4 hits to go down, just smack them with your wrecking ball once and they go down. Hey, it helps out a lot. There's no boss in this level, but there is a tricky section of avoiding instant death electricity shooting things. I don't know what else to call them. It's not too bad, but you may have to run through this level a few times before you master the controls. Level 3, the Turbo Tunnel. The speeder stage. The iconic level of Battletoads. I Ironically enough, it doesn't even start off at the speeder stage. You have to go through a beat-em-up with a bunch of kangaroos first. It's really not that big of a deal until you get up to the speeders, so just make your way up there and you'll be relatively safe. As far as the actual turbo tunnel is concerned, I don't really have any advice for you. I mean, it's all about memorization and reaction time, plain and simple. What I can tell you is that later in the stage, when the obstacles start to move a hell of a lot faster, you actually need to move before they start moving on the screen. For example, if you need to jump over something, you'll actually have to jump before it starts moving towards you. I know, that sounds really convoluted. Just look at this. Really, this stage is all about memorization and reaction time, so you're just gonna have to play the hell out of it. Level 4, the Arctic Caverns. Man, I remember first getting to this level. I was so excited I nearly shit myself. Of course, the excitement wore down after the realization that I had shit myself, and that this is probably some of the toughest platforming I've ever faced in my life. The jumping in this level is dicey. Most of the time you'll be surrounded by instant death spikes, and other times you'll be cornered between a snowman throwing snowballs and blocks of ice trying to crush you. It's not easy getting past this stage, but it can be beaten. The first thing you need to know is that the snowman can kill you in one hit. If you get too close, they'll uppercut you and send you flying to your grave. They also throw snowballs in a pattern. Each pattern is different for different snowmen, but they usually throw snowballs in pairs of 3 or 4. Just memorize the throwing patterns, get in close, and kill them quickly. The platforming in this level is what's going to kill you, and the only real advice I can give you is that you need to memorize everything. From where you need to jump to where the enemies are, to how high you can jump without hitting the deadly spikes and killing yourself. Sadly, yet again, this is one of those levels you're just going to have to play the hell out of until you completely master it. Anything less than mastery of this level will result in your death, I guarantee it. There is one piece of advice I can give you. You are going to have to go through the level the way the designers intended it. If you try to get smart and take a shortcut near the end of the stage, you're going to get cock-blocked by an immovable wall of ice. Dick move, guys. Dick move. Level 5, Surf City, and man, does this remind me of the Turbo Tunnels or what? Actually, it's not nearly as difficult. I only had to play this level about 6 times before I mastered it completely, but still, you know, it can be a bit difficult at first. There's only one real sticking point in this level, and that's at the end, where you have to surf around these huge meteorites that are in the river, or boulders or something. One hit from them, they'll send you flying and you're dead. But other than that, the level's not too difficult. The boss, well, the mini-boss really, is actually pretty easy, but don't get comfortable. If you've got a weapon, use it to pin the boss at the edge of the screen and air juggle his ass. Believe me, you're not being cheap here. This game is cheap enough as it is. It deserves some fucking payback. Level 6, Karnath's Lair. Man. This is the reason Indiana Jones hates snakes. I think, at least. I know I hate snakes now. I mean, Jesus, guys, could you have eased up a little bit on this level? I mean, listen, the idea of jumping from snake to snake, basically moving platforms, is really unique and interesting to get your way through a level, but holy crap, guys. I mean, you gotta be extremely precise, otherwise you're gonna find yourself falling into spiky, insta-death hell. If there's one piece of advice I can give you, it's how to jump up at the right time. Timing your jumps is essential in this level, and jumping up to catch the next snake is critical. If you're too early or too late, you'll fall to your death. All you have to do is jump before the last 2 sections of your snake disappear into the wall, and you'll be fine. Also, the last jump of this level is a real pain in the ass. You need to wait until just the right moment, literally a split second before you fall off the end of the snake, to jump over a couple of spiked balls, landing just behind the snake head. This one takes a lot of practice to pull off. Level 7, Volkmeyer's Inferno. Oh, God. I remember getting up to level 3 as a kid and just being absolutely frustrated, thinking there was no way this game could get any more difficult. Oh, man. When I recently got up to this level for the first time in my life, I nearly cried. It's level 3, but it's fucking impossible. Basically, take the worst parts of level 3 and 5, namely the insane speed, dodging instant death obstacles, and having little round things thrown at you in random order, then expand the kill zone so the player has to have pixel-perfect precision of his character, and add in some devious traps that you never see coming unless you played the hell out of that level. And you've got Volkmeyer's Inferno. Unlike Turbo Tunnel or Surf City, this one is not as straightforward and actually requires some explanation as to why the hell it's so difficult. At first, the level is pretty easy by Battletoads standards anyway. There are a few nasty monsters here. These flying guys will kill you in one hit, and these bats actually steal a part of your health bar. You have to kill these bats and then grab the stolen health. It's annoying. The flying stage, though, man, all I can say is good luck. I have never played a level so much, only to be killed by the same exact obstacle over and over and over again. Of course, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's backtrack a little bit and discuss why the flying stage is such a pain in the ass. First, don't get too comfortable with any patterns that might emerge. What I mean is, generally, you can find a pattern to fly through the electric field, like you can go high, mid, low, mid, high, mid, low, mid, and so on. Battletoads likes to get you into a groove like that, and then break the pattern, killing you instantly. Basically, don't expect the game to play fair. Another problem is that there are sections where the electric fields either close in on you or open up at the edge of the screen. So you've not only got to stay close to the edge of the screen, but every once in a while you've got to fly forward so the electric field doesn't close up and kill you. The absolute worst part is when the game decides to throw gaps that open in front of gaps that close. You'll end up flying through 3 gaps that open at the back of the screen, and then be forced to immediately rush to the front of the screen or get killed by the closing electrical gaps. There is no two ways about it. This level takes a ton of memorization. The missile section is hard as hell. You gotta keep an eye on the top and the bottom of the screen. The missiles shoot up from the bottom, and then a few seconds later will drop down from the sky. And there are a few minutes there where there are actually missiles coming up from the bottom and down from the top. This takes a hell of a lot of hand-eye coordination, and even if you're some kind of Battletoads Grand Champion, you're still gonna die a lot. But it's the last part of this level that really pisses me off. Not only do you have to dodge an electrical field, it's moving at an insanely high speed, and the gaps are smaller, and they're spaced closer together. But it's the last gap that is going to be the motherfucking bane of your existence. I can't tell you how many times I died, how many continues I've wasted, how many times I played through the game only to get up to that last gap and die and die and die again. God. You know what, guys? I need a break. I'll be right back. Fucking Battletoads. Alright guys, back to the game. Level 8, Intruder Excluder. This level is almost like some sort of bizarre elevator shaft. You'll need to learn the patterns of every robot in the stage in order to time your jumps correctly. One false move and you'll jump right into their electric beam, which takes half of your hit points away. This is one of the trickiest platforming levels of the game, but it's not too difficult. You'll spend the majority of your time trying to get past the damn fans that suck you in. Fortunately, there's no time limit on the stage, so if you take your time, you should get through it without too much hair pulling. The boss, on the other hand, is a pain in the ass. You'll die a lot. The idea behind him is pretty simple. Hit him with a power attack, I like to use the headbutt, then duck to avoid his stream of bullets. Repeat until he goes down. The real problem with this boss is that he'll increase in speed substantially until he dies, so your timing's gonna have to change with each hit. Eventually, though, you can beat him. Level 9, the Terror Tubes. This level is a step up in difficulty from level 8, a significant step up in difficulty from level 8, mostly because it introduces swimming and the concept of dodging ridiculously large cogs that chase you around the level and kill you instantly should they touch you. Also, you have to swim and dodge cogs at the same time. Needless to say, it's going to take a few playthroughs before you actually beat this level. Really, the biggest problem I found in this level is the jumping mechanics. The jumping in this level doesn't follow any real laws of physics. If you press A to swim up, and at any time you exit the water, you'll jump up into the air at full force. I mean, I don't even think Michael Phelps could pull that off. The thing that's gonna kill you the most in this level are the cogs. Those damned cogs. You run into them about halfway through the level. They'll chase you down until they reach the end of their path, then explode, opening up the next part of the level for you. The only way to actually beat this stage is to, sadly, die a lot. You'll have to learn the specific spots that you can stand, and in one case float, so that the cogs don't crush you. Stand in the wrong spot, and you're dead. For the most part, the safe spot is usually pretty easy to figure out. The cogs like to follow a linear path and will just fall down holes, letting you stand off to one side of a safe ledge. There are a couple of fuck you moments here, though, especially when you think standing off to the side is the right idea, but then it turns out that the cog actually makes a turn and crushes you. Level 10, Rat Race. You literally race against a rat and then try to defuse 3 bombs along the way. Now, there are 3 races, and the first 2 are relatively simple. As long as you don't stand around picking your nose, you should be alright. But it's that 3rd race that's just gonna give you fucking nightmares for years to come. I kept dying in the 3rd race because the rat is so incredibly fast in the last race that I just threw the controller down in anger and swore that I actually wouldn't do a Battletoads review, and that everyone who watched this little show of mine would just have to deal with it. Well, persistence paid off in the end, and I figured out how you're supposed to actually beat this little fucker. In the 3rd race, the rat is actually going to be really fast and will outrun you on the straightaways. You'll need to double tap the forward button to sprint this entire race, and on the straightaways, if you hit the rat forward with your bullhorns at the right time, he'll jump over a gap that lets him jump down to the next part of the race, forcing him to run backwards and run the straightaway again. You do this a few times, and you manage to perfect your gap falling, you'll be able to beat the rodent without any problems. There is a boss in this level, General Slaughter, and he's not that challenging. He'll rush you, but you can jump over him and hit him in the back. Repeat until he's dead. Level 11, Clinger Wingers. God almighty. You thought the rat race was impossible? You thought level 7 was impossible? Volkmeyer's Inferno? You ain't seen shit yet! Wait until you get a load of this level, where you race ahead of an energy orb that kills you in one hit. You can only move in one direction, you can't jump, and you have to follow the arrows on the floor. If you press any other direction, you slow down and get killed. The orb itself is actually faster than you on straightaways, big fucking surprise there, and the only way to put some distance between you and it is to master the level layout and get pixel-perfect timing on the corners. I am dead serious about that. Anything less than perfection on this level and you are fucked. The timing required to beat this level is unbelievable, and if you're anything less than perfect, you're gonna die in the long straightaways at the end. This boss, mercifully, is much easier to beat than the stage. Just don't get under it and don't touch it. Your best option is to trap it in a corner and pound away at it till it dies. Level 12, the Revolution. You know why they call it a revolution? Just as you walk, the level revolves. Revolution revolves. Get it? I fucking hate this game. I fucking hate this game. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Oh, God. This level just pisses me off. You know, for the last level, you'd think by this time the game is done throwing new shit at you and just expects you to master it in, you know, whatever the hell else you've done through the rest of the game. But no! Every time you jump up, something new is there to fucking kill you in one hit. God almighty. This level just really just fucking pushed me over the edge. I'm sorry. I know I usually just explain things to you. I don't go off like, you know, the angry nerd or the critic or Spoonie or something like that, but my God. It just... You know what? Fuck it. Let's just get to the game. Let's get this over with. For the most part, this level is just platforming. Incredibly frustrating and difficult platforming that you need to repeat over and over and over again in order to get it right. And after level 11, you're going to hate the fact that this game only has a very limited number of continues, because I can assure you that you're going to play through this game several times just to practice beating this stage. At first, the stage is just platforming with some enemies thrown in to keep it interesting. Eventually, though, you're going to run into a face that blows wind at you, knocking you off the tower and instantly killing you. What do? You hang from these golden railings until the wind dies down. The wind is so strong that it can literally blow you off of the screen, and in order to avoid it, you hang from a railing by your fingers. I would have never called that. The next difficult part is learning how to jump on these damn trampoline things. At first it's pretty easy, you just press the jump button and away you go. But then the game throws in these upside down trampolines. If you just try to jump up, you'll get very little height in the air, but not enough to advance anywhere. What do? Well, if you tap the jump button twice, once to force the trampoline to spring, and once to jump off, you'll be able to advance. It's not that big of a deal, but it is a problem if you're not paying attention to just what type of floor you're standing on. The final problem of this stage is the last bit of hectic platforming. Once you get to this point, the cloud that blows wind at you will appear. Now, unlike the face, this cloud isn't as powerful and won't knock you off the screen. However, it will push you forward or backwards. This makes trying to get up the last portion of the tower very difficult. You won't have time to stop and think about your jumps, so you just have to keep jumping and jumping and jumping, and if you fall off or make a mental mistake, then you have to make a note of what happened and try again. After all of that hectic platforming, finally you reach the last boss of the game. The Dark Queen. Man. After all these years, I never thought I'd get to see that sheep-bitch face to face. Turns out she's actually pretty easy. Well, relative to the rest of the game, at least. And, you just hit her from behind. You can't hit her from the front. She kicks you a few times. And you don't want to hit her when she's in her tornado form, because it's pretty much an instant kill. Just wait it out until you can hit her. Hit her a few times. She'll die. You win the game. Well, that's Battletoads, and I need a drink.